Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So what does food mean to you? My special guest in this episode is Kevin Sandridge from the BBQ Beat Podcast. And you know, June is National Pets Month. So we have Rob Becerra from an organization called Ruthless, Pawz, and he's doing some great work, especially for animal shelters in New York City, but all over the country. So stay tuned for that. And my special recipe, it's a summertime recipe for strawberries with lemon and fresh mint. And don't forget to like and share our episodes. For this month of June, we're giving away a pizza from Lou Malnati's Chicago Pizza. That's this famous, delicious deep dish pizza. And also a limited edition grilling kit from Vital Choice, and The Basic Art of Pizza. That is my book from my collection of cookbooks from The Basic Art of. Don't forget, like and share the episodes for this month. We're getting ready to select winners for those 3 prizes. And also, all of the recipes on this episode can be found on my blog at marialiberati.com. And you can find this recipe and more in my book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, my Gourmand World winning book, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, Holidays and Special Occasions, and The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, Da Vinci Style. And there's also The Basic Art of series, which is The Basic Art of Pizza, The Basic Art of Pasta, The Basic Art of Cocktails, The Basic Art of Christmas Dinner, The Basic Art of Experiencing Venice, and The Basic Art of Creating a Tuscan-Style Wedding. All of those books can be found at marialiberati.com, artoflivingprimamedia.com, and anywhere books are sold online. One of my must-have summer ingredients is fresh mint in frittata and iced tea with grilled zucchini, eggplant, with fresh watermelon, fresh strawberries, and lemon, and so many other dishes. Mint is a very unique herb. Unlike other green herbs, mint has an array of flavors and dessert-like tastes that will absolutely drive your taste buds wild. Here are a few different types to choose from when deciding what type of mint to grow or purchase at your local market or grocery store. Peppermint is probably the most common type of mint, and the aroma is what people generally think of when they imagine mint. It can be used in teas, toothpaste, gum, and many desserts, including with chocolate. It's generally believed to have a positive effect on one's health. Apple mint is often used for decorative purposes because it's an attractive plant with light green leaves and small purplish pink flowers. It's perfect for jam, tea, and various sauces due to its apple flavor and scent. Pineapple mint is a type of apple mint with white flowers. The taste is actually similar to pineapple, so it can be used in nearly any fruit dish that needs a little extra flavor. It's a plant that's commonly used for its fragrance and aesthetic appeal. Spearmint is a more common type of mint for gardeners, and it's frequently found in various gums, toothpaste, and drinks such as mojitos and mint juleps. It can be used in cooking and used raw in salads. It's got a potent aroma, and it's frequently used for its soothing effects. And stay tuned, I'll be giving a recipe that uses fresh spearmint with strawberries and lemon. Chocolate mint has an aroma and flavor similar to chocolate, but with an added kick of mint. It can also be used in teas and, of course, many chocolate desserts. It's a delicious addition to any kitchen garden or dessert. Curly mint is generally used for decoration due to its curled leaves. The leaves have contrasting hues of green, and the flavor and aroma are similar to peppermint or spearmint but are less potent. This plant is generally not used for cooking or flavoring purposes. It's just more of a decorative type of a plant. These are just a few of the many types of mint, so be adventurous and try as many as you can find. You know, I have fresh fields of mint that I frequently use in the summertime. That field of mint was once this little mint patch that was started by one of my great uncles on a visit, his only visit to the United States from Italy, and it just grew and grew from a little mint patch to fields and fields of mint. So I love using my fresh mint in the summertime. It's kind of also a memory of this great uncle on his only visit here from Italy. So one of my favorite recipes, it's a traditional Italian summer dessert. It's called fragole con limone, strawberries with lemon. And this is one of my favorite dishes to make using fresh mint. It's just a pound of fresh strawberries, 1 fresh lemon, 2 tablespoons of sugar. You can also use stevia or any kind of sweetener that you prefer instead of the sugar. It's just that you need to use some kind of sweetness to balance out the lemon. All you're going to do is hull and quarter your fresh strawberries. And you need to use fresh strawberries for this dessert. You can't use frozen. So you hull and quarter those strawberries. Place them in a bowl. Of course, be sure to wash them. Squeeze a fresh lemon on top of the strawberries. Sprinkle with the sugar or whatever sweetener you want to use, whatever sweetener you choose to use. Stir that gently and get a handful of fresh mint leaves, not the stems, just a handful of fresh mint leaves. And use just about maybe a quarter of that handful in the bowl. Again, stir gently, cover that, place that in the refrigerator, let that marinate for about a half hour. Once you take that out of the refrigerator and serve it in dessert glasses, use the rest of that handful of fresh mint to garnish the dessert glasses with, and your fresh strawberries with lemon. And it is such an easy but refreshing dessert. You can serve that with gelato or ice cream. Really, there's so many things you can serve it as a side dish. If you have pound cake or an angel food cake, biscotti, you can serve that as a side dish, again, to so many things. So enjoy. And if you grow your own fresh mint, take a picture, share it. Hashtag it, The Maria Liberati Show. If you put together this recipe, my strawberries with lemon, take a picture of the recipe, hashtag it The Maria Liberati Show, and share it on social media. Be sure to share the episodes for the month of June to be entered in a drawing to win a pizza from Lou Malnati's Chicago Pizza, that delicious deep dish pizza, and this limited edition grilling kit from Vital Choice, just filled with all kinds of fresh seafood, grilling planks, a seafood rub. It is the ultimate grilling kit, and also a copy of my book, The Basic Art of Pizza. Just like and share the episodes. Hashtag The Maria Liberati Show. And June is National Pet Month. And actually today's, I think, is National Best Friends Day. So I don't know about you, but my fur baby is my best friend, hands down. So in honor of that, I have Rob Becerra on. He's with an organization called Ruthless Pawz, which is really, they're doing some great work for animals. And he's also got something interesting that he's working on with Curtis Lewa, who is running for mayor of New York City. Rob, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So Rob is the president of Ruthless Pawz. Rob, tell us a little bit about Ruthless Pawz.
Yeah, so Ruthless Pawz is and I say pause with a Z, not with an S. Because people like pause as in pause, it's pause with a Z. So Ruthless Pawz is a celebrity-backed company that speaks out against animal abuse, gives back to animal rescues, and works with politicians to get laws changed for the animals. And we're pretty successful at doing that, even though we just started.
Wow. So tell us, to start with, I know I read about this really interesting thing that Has this been changed now, this law? Like, I know Curtis Sliwa, who's running for mayor of New York, you were working with him to change the law so that no animals are euthanized, right, in New York City at any of the shelters?
Correct. We want to make New York no kill. Right now, New York is not no kill, and Curtis and I have a plan to make it no kill, and there is a lot to get done.
I'm sure.
As you can imagine.
Wow. Well, you know what? So tell my listeners, is there any way that they can help, or how can anybody get involved in this? Because I'm sure it's a cause close to everyone's heart.
I mean, there are so many ways to become active in your own community with animal welfare. Here in New York City, we have a systemic broken system in animal welfare. And whenever anyone wants to adopt, I always encourage them to go to the shelter.
Yes.
Because obviously in the shelters, if they're not a no-kill shelter, they do kill animals.
Yes.
So I always preach, adopt, don't shop.
Yes.
There are so many animals that need homes. And unfortunately, they are a lot of times in the shelters where more oftentimes than not, they will be euthanized due to a lack of space or whatever the reasons may be. So if you want to be proactive, you definitely need to become a volunteer, become a foster. A lot of people don't realize that they can actually foster shelter animals, not be held liable for the medical expenses and stuff that is a big issue for some of the people that would love to have an animal, but simply cannot afford to have it due to medical costs.
Yes.
As a foster, all of that is covered, and you're giving the dog or cat a loving home until it does find a permanent home. And then you obviously have the opportunity to adopt and be able to provide that loving home for the cat, for the dog in the shelter.
Yes.
You know, you have to take a proactive, progressive approach in trying to, really combat animal welfare issues.
Yes, yes.
Right?
So tell us, you were starting to tell me of some celebrities that have helped the cause, have helped you. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So when I first started this company, it was basically an idea that just came to me with writing on a shirt. And our shirts have slogans on them. And slogans that for the women are more like cute, friendly, for the guys a little bit more aggressive, depending on your personality. So I ended up, I know some of the guys from The Sopranos. I do a little acting work myself. So I reached out to some of the guys from The Sopranos. I reached out to Tony Darrow from Goodfellas. And I reached out to a couple people, and they were very supportive. They loved the idea. And I reached out to Curtis. I mean, here's a guy that has 13, 15 rescue cats.
Yeah. Oh, he does. Wow.
Oh, he has
I thought
rescue cats.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. Wow. It's a wonderful thing. And I said, you know what? I met Curtis at the council committee. I met Nancy, his wife, first. And I met them about 3 years ago at the council committee. And I had spoke to the council committee about the animal welfare system in New York. And how far behind we are compared to like Austin, Texas, that has no kill shelters, state-of-the-art facilities, and we are not nowhere near there. Yet they are operating on a budget less than what we operate on. But they managed to be no kill.
Oh, wow.
Right. So that's how I met Curtis, and I brought him on board along with, Joe Ganascoli, who played Vito Spatafore in The Sopranos, and Dan Grimaldi, and all these other guys, and they've been very supportive of it. So I'm blessed that they are supportive of it. So it's still a work in progress. It takes time to build, but we're doing a pretty good job. And if anyone wanted to show support to the company, they could check out ruthlesspawz.com. Pawz with a Z. They could check out our website. They make a purchase if they decide to. Part of the proceeds go back to the animal rescue of their choice. Which is great. People like to have choices, right? So we have a list of different rescues from all over the country. And actually one in Egypt.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's great. That's great. That is really wonderful. I have a kind of a question that I want to ask you. Do you ever get involved with this? Has been an issue that I found, and I'm just wondering, I know there's certain places like in Italy where they've actually outlawed fireworks because they're so disrupting, and the dogs get so distressed, people don't realize it. So during the summer, it's just been terrible for my little one. She gets so distraught when they do
Sure.
fireworks. Have you guys gotten, obviously the euthanize thing is really important, but I know there are
Absolutely.
laws that are passed sometime. Do you know anything about that? Like, are any places passing laws about that because it's so distressful? It's actually distressful to kids too sometimes, but
Right. Well, dogs and cats, generally speaking, they have a heightened sensitivity to noise. So what
yes,
we hear, they hear at like 50 times more. So I
yes,
mean, it's literally like explosions going off for them as opposed to us, which it still could be a nuisance to people.
yes,
As
yes,
far as I know, from what I've seen, there isn't really any laws in place that
right,
will say we're going to specifically ban fireworks because
yes.
dogs and cats are scared
Yes,
or anything
yes,
related to animals. Whenever anything
mm,
is related to animals, it
uh-huh,
takes a back seat
yes,
in
yes,
comparison to humans, people.
exactly,
So if they do ban it, they're going to ban it because it could be detrimental to the elderly. It could be detrimental to children. It could scare
yes,
and frighten
yes,
children. And then we're going
yes,
to have it localized. In New York City, they have it on the East River and then Hudson River.
yes,
But it's not going to be because of animals.
right, right,
And we're not an evolved society yet. I
yes,
do animal cruelty cases right
uh-huh,
here in New York City, and a
uh,
lot of people contact me about animal cruelty cases.
yes,
And I see the worst in humanity quite
oh,
often.
I could imagine.
It's not easy.
No, no, I could
It's not
never. Oh
easy,
my gosh, I
you
would have
know.
nightmares every
Right.
night. I can
So
just
when you
imagine.
have those issues going on,
Uh-huh,
it's very low on the totem pole to lawmakers about fireworks and the effects they have on animals.
yes, yes.
That's the issue that we have to
But
deal with.
exactly, but it's one issue at a time. I just wanted to say, and the euthanasia one, I think, is the most important one. And maybe once you get through that, can start working on, right, all the other ones, and will be a little more evolved. And that's such an important issue. And I was so
Right.
glad to hear that's happening. So just before you go, so tell us, so Curtis is trying to pass this with you along as what, a law, so that
So
anyone running for mayor, will you tell us? Yes.
right. Yeah. So what we decided to do, I wanted to do was for the first time ever have animal welfare as a party line here
Uh-huh.
in New York and
Yes.
have animal welfare on the ballot in
Uh-huh.
November in the mayoral ballot.
Wow.
Right? So we garnered 5,000 signatures in just a few weeks with limited resources, to be
Uh-huh.
honest with you. But people were so receptive when we would approach them in the street and
Yes.
educate them about animal welfare. Most
Yes.
people signed. That's something, whether if you're apolitical or Republican or
Yes.
Democrat,
Doesn't
it's
matter.
nonpartisan. Most people
No.
love dogs, most people love
Yes.
cats. So we
Yes.
are all in agreement on that aspect.
Yes.
So for
Yes.
the first time ever, in November, the animals will have a presence on our ballot under the animal welfare party line. And people will have an opportunity to cast their vote
Oh,
on the animal welfare party line. And if we garner enough percentage votes, we
right.
can actually make animal welfare a statewide party line here in New York,
Oh,
which will benefit the animals even more.
yes.
So Curtis having 15 rescue cats, it's only fitting to have someone like him who
Yes.
does not like the idea of cats or dogs being killed in shelters due to a lack of space.
Exactly.
We have a broken system. I've been an animal activist here for about 7 years,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a broken system here in New
Yes.
York.
Yes.
The advocates, the activists who are on the ground daily, who rescue, who
Uh-huh.
do whatever they can to help animals, they do not trust the system that is in place in New York City.
Oh, wow.
That's a problem when you have thousands, if not more, of activists. They're not seeing eye to eye with the animal care and control shelters here in New York City, right? So we
Yes.
have to start by having the animal welfare party line.
Yes.
That brings up the conversation.
Yes.
It's a conversation starter. I'm not expecting us to win on the animal welfare party line. We're looking to start the conversation. It could end up being a spoiler. Who knows? But people will see it and it will spark the conversation.
It starts people thinking. You're absolutely right. It starts people thinking about the issue. And then hopefully other state, once it does get far, other states will start seeing what you're doing and you'll be successful in other states. And we can make this a countrywide thing, a USA thing, not just New York, but it is really important because, New York City is our most important city
it does have a ripple effect across the country. When I had announced that on Facebook that we would be moving forward with the animal welfare party line, and we garnered more than enough signatures to get it on the ballot. We needed 3,750. We got 5,000.
Wow.
Right. And in just a few short weeks, it's not like we had months. We did not have months and dozens of volunteers. We didn't have that. We had a small group of people that were motivated, that really wanted to get this on the ballot, including myself. And we did that with the amount of signatures that we got. And we got such a positive response from Los Angeles, from Missouri, about, Rob, you need to do this out here. We need your help. What steps would you take to be proactive? Because I always work with politicians because they end up making the law. But as much as I say it's great to make the law, create the law, now you have to enforce
it, right?
Because you can have all these laws, but if no one's enforcing it, it doesn't do anything for anybody.
Exactly.
Right? So we have a great plan, which Curtis allows me to divulge because I am the mastermind. And truthfully, when it comes to knowing an experience of animal welfare and what can benefit New York City, but then have a ripple effect across the country. And Curtis is the right guy to get it done. If he wasn't, him and I wouldn't have worked together. But his passion, his understanding, he worked great with the guy. He's very down to earth. He said it to me, Rob, I don't know everything, but I am going to surround myself with the people in their respective fields who know best. And I think it really speaks volumes about someone when they acknowledge they do not know everything, but they're going to work with the people who do know everything about their respective field.
Exactly. They're going to surround themselves with the best. Yes. And they recognize that. And he has such a wonderful background, for years. We know of Curtis and all the great work that he's done.
Guardian angel.
Yes, the guardian angels, definitely. Well, Rob, thank you so much. And tell us again where my listeners can find out about Ruthless Pawz with a Z, right? It's like Pawz, P-A-W with a Z. Is that
P-A-W-Z,
yeah, like
on ruthlesspawz.com. They could check out our website. And I will leave you off with some really great information.
Yes.
The Department of Animal Welfare was just recently created a couple of years ago in New York City. And Curtis and I have a plan to expand it so that we can have the Department of Animal Welfare oversee all animal related issues in New York City, because right now it's the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. The problem with that is the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, they don't have the capacity to care for animals. They're focused on the mental hygiene of New Yorkers. Animals are secondary. Animals should not be secondary. So maybe in a future show, we could talk about the Department of Animal Welfare, how it will benefit New York City, how it will benefit New York City animals, how it will create job opportunity, which is big, how it will create revenue for the city. And how it would be such a positive in New York City, where we would make New York no kill. Tax revenue will be generated. Job opportunity is generated. And I have a huge plan for that. And Curtis is backing it 100%.
Oh, that's great. Yes, that sounds great. And I didn't know that they didn't have their own separate animal welfare department, but I can imagine it just gets kind of pushed to the back. So
in the largest city in the country, we don't even have that.
Oh my gosh.
Non-existent.
That's unbelievable. But yes, I would love to have you on a future show to talk about that as we get ready for also the mayoral race. And hopefully this, people we want to make people really aware of this issue. Rob, thank you so much for being here, and much success and much luck with this issue. And we'll certainly be talking again.
Thank you very much.
RuthlessPawz.com, right?
Ruthlesspawz with a Z.com. They can check us out. Follow us on Facebook at Ruthless Pawz, Instagram at Ruthless Pawz, and you can see some of the stuff we post. And we also post, cases or ways people can become proactive on our Facebook and Instagram. Share the information. Sometimes we post up cases of animals that unfortunately have been abused, and we need their help to find the perpetrator. So sometimes we put stuff like that.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. All right, Rob, thank you. Much success.
Thank you.
Well, June is Eat Your Vegetables month, and we have a special guest. It is Kevin Sandridge from the BBQ Beat Podcast, and he's going to share with us a really nice story. And Kevin, thanks so much for being here today.
Maria, it's a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, and I've heard some great things about your podcast. If anyone is a barbecue or grilling fan, and even more, because I know you delve into really interesting stories, which, everything tells a story. So it's just really a very interesting podcast. But I know we were talking about some interesting stories you had that you were going to share with everybody. Well, you know what? Can you just start out and tell us, you were telling me a nice story about how you started your podcast. Why didn't you tell us about that just a little bit?
Sure. Real quick, I initially started the podcast as a way to document my interests in competition barbecue. Everyone's seen those food competitions on shows like TV channels like the Food Network and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And I was interested in that. So I was talking to a lot of those people. And then I quickly realized that, from an audience standpoint, because as you know, it's always important to determine like what people might want to listen to rather than only going to your vision. It branched out into more of a way for me to share the narratives, the personal stories that people carry with them, and that, that help to shape the lens that they look through life through. And this is one of the things that I think is important for us to always take a minute, take stock, and realize, how are our views about the food we eat, the experiences we create on a daily basis, like how are they shaped by our life experiences? And I wanted to record as many of those stories as I possibly could. So that's really now the focus of the podcast for the most part.
Oh, well, that's interesting. That's great. So people will have a backstory about the barbecue beat also. So tell us about, I know you had some farming stories you were going to share with us for Eat Your Vegetables month. Yes.
Yeah. First, let me just say that I ate an entire bunch of grilled asparagus last night. That's probably my favorite vegetable. It's delicious. And I had to share that because it was, just a little avocado oil, some natural sea salt, little pepper, and simple, and a cast iron skillet. And that really was the bulk of the meal. I just decided I was going to have some vegetables. So it's nice that we're talking about that today. So one of the stories that I wanted to share was concerning the efforts of Dr. Howard Conyers. Dr. Conyers is a NASA scientist. The episode on my podcast is entitled actually Talking Food Heritage, Culture, and History with Dr. Conyers. By the way, any of these episodes that I reference, they can be accessed by just going to BBQ Beat, BBQBeat.com, and clicking on the archive. They're all listed there. But Dr. Conyers really did a great job of tracing back some of his heritage and his interest in the preservation of food culture. He actually hosted an incredibly insightful public broadcasting series on YouTube called Nourish, Nourish. I strongly encourage your listeners to go check that out because he delves into like the Gullah Geechee culture on the East Coast, and he had a great episode with Chef Hardette Harris in Northern Louisiana, who I then subsequently interviewed, called The Great Cornbread Debate. I mean, everybody's very particular about their cornbread. Some people like, white cornmeal, yellow cornmeal. Some people like it, more like a pie in a cast iron skillet. Other people do like the drop cornbread that Chef Harris is excellent at making. And then from then on, I also interviewed, like I said, Chef Harris. She's amazing. Hardhead Harris is responsible for developing the official Northern Louisiana menu, if you will, of fresh vegetables, purple hull peas, like things that you might not normally come across because sort of big agriculture has kind of weeded them out of our diet. She really does a good job of bringing some of those back into the picture. And that discussion with her really involves a lot of great childhood stories and things that she remembers eating and helping to bring to the table from that standpoint. I then also had a great conversation with some friends of mine up in the Fresno, Ohio area. I know, and it's funny when we hear names of cities in other parts of the country that are unexpected, like, Fresno, you think California,
I
but
was
sure
just
enough.
going to say, I didn't know there's a Fresno,
I know.
Ohio. I was expecting to say California after
I know.
Fresno. So yes,
I
but I
know.
know there are farms in Ohio.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, he and his family run a farm called Hand Hewn, Hewn farm. And so we had a nice discussion there. By far, my favorite interview involved a discussion I had with former Army Ranger John Jackson, who operates a farming initiative called Comfort Farms after one of his fellow servicemen, a guy he served under named Kyle Comfort, who was killed in action. And John's big thing is stretching and pushing ourselves into learning and growing. Actually, despite maybe not wanting to get out of our comfort zone. So right, so a little play on the word comfort there, but
Yes.
but gaining greater comfort through a little bit of discomfort, maybe. And he's big into the culture and active practice of seed saving and really getting into pulling out a lot of if you follow his feed on Instagram, the Comfort
Yes.
Farms feed,
Yes.
just some amazing, not just photographs of old world, old variety, heirloom variety vegetables that they're growing there on the farm, but almost no posts is without a multi-paragraph take on the importance of that particular vegetable and what it means historically. So if anyone learn more about the different vegetables that are out there that are not just good for us to eat, but good for the environment because they offer some biodiversity and what we offer back to the soil, and highly recommend John's feed. And if I may, just a quick plug,
Yes.
Comfort Farms exists because John nearly took his life after military service, and every in less than a minute every day, all day, veterans are taking their lives at record rates, and they're struggling to normalize and get back into society. And John realized that they needed a mission. And the story of Comfort Farms is one that John took on to help himself heal, help his family grow and heal back together, but also to now offer veterans a chance to take part in that very same experience. And it is a nonprofit organization. He's been doing some amazing work. So if anyone wants to look more into that and see maybe how they can either contribute financially, or John is very open. If you want to come out to Milledgeville, Georgia, and spend a couple of days working on the farm, he'll teach you what they do. He'll help hands-on, all the way, and it is just a great experience all
Wow. Well,
around.
thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. And we do, I can never say enough about our veterans. We really owe our lives to them. And I don't think, we're not grateful enough. So any way that we can reach out and give thanks to our military, our veterans, is definitely a wonderful thing. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that. But the other thing that you did mention about the heirloom vegetables and all. So he's growing, he's the one that's highlighting these at Comfort Farms. Is that
They're growing those on the farm. Yeah.
Yeah, because many people don't realize, they go to the supermarket and they find two types of tomatoes.
That's right.
One cucumber, and they think that that's all that there is. But there were, as we're now sharing, there were tons of types of vegetables and fruits that you're not getting to experience unless you try to find these heirloom seeds. And you'll experience such a wonderful variety of, our supermarkets. It's just not financially possible to carry all those different types of fruits and vegetables. So it's really up to you to try to, grow them, or go to a farm like maybe Comfort Farms and, try to experience them yourself. But that's definitely, I'm glad that you brought that out. But I'm sorry I interrupted you. So what else were you going to tell us? That's a great.
No, I mean, that really, those stories are the ones that highlight my,
Yes.
maybe there's one more with Hank Shaw.
Uh-huh.
Now Hank Shaw is a cool guy. He grew up actually as a member of like the press, corps. He
Uh-huh.
worked in news, and
Uh-huh.
he eventually decided that, he wanted to go back to some of the lessons his mom taught him actually about foraging.
Uh-huh.
Um, the idea of going out and finding some of these things that you can eat. He's an avid mushroom hunter.
Uh-huh.
He gets out, and I remember myself as how amazing the feeling is when you come across a little patch or field of edible,
Sure.
fungus. It's just
Yes.
cool to me. And real quick, my mother grew up in Chatham, Virginia, and just on the near Danville, Virginia, on the Virginia North Carolina border, and in an old like 1800s era, nearly forgotten cemetery back behind her uncle's home,
Uh-huh.
we discovered a giant patch of edible mushrooms there. They were, I believe, they were of the cremini
Oh,
variety,
alchemy
and
mushrooms.
and I will say that I didn't, I'm a little bit of a better safe than sorry guy. So
Uh-huh.
unfortunately, my niece, who actually has a master's degree in toxicology,
There
was
you
not with me at the time,
go.
and I thought maybe I'll just look and take some pictures and not
Yes.
actually eat these because I just want to be careful.
Yeah, I
But
just wanted to mention, I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to say I've heard some stories. So
that's right.
for those of you out there, when you find mushrooms, be sure you get somebody that has some expertise, because even though they look
Absolutely.
like they're edible, they are not
Yeah,
always edible. So be
that's
really
right.
careful with that. But it is nice to. So tell us, is there an ending to that story? Were they edible? Did you try?
I know what
No.
I left them to grow and populate as they
There you go.
will, and
That's
maybe one day
fine.
I'll
Yes.
revisit them. But
But yep.
yeah, we got back, and but looking through the storyline of what Hank Shaw does, he is really into sustainable eating. Vegetables play an enormously big role in his daily life, in his practice. He's got some amazing cookbooks out there. You can find a lot of what he's doing on his really wonderful website. And one of the things that he does such a great job over, it's Hunter Angler Gardener Cook. You can just find it by going honest-food.net is the
Okay.
website. Right on the front there's a huge edible wild plants, boom,
Wow.
right there. I mean, he's got an amazing collection of articles surrounding different nuts and acorns and
Wow.
mushrooms, and but more importantly, that story that he started out with about how he had that relationship with his mom
Uh-huh.
and how she passed that information and that passion on to him.
Uh-huh.
That's why I do the podcast, to get
Yes.
at those stories and to really help people not just share them, but know that their stories and their willingness to share those stories,
Yes.
they're greatly appreciated because they add some richness to the fabric of our own experience here on this planet.
Oh, exactly. They do. And I always, we sometimes I sometimes ask my guests, like, what does food mean to you? Because there's always a story related to food. And I think that's what makes it special too. It does create experiences in our life that we can go back to. So definitely those stories were just amazing. Kevin, thank you so much for being here. So tell my listeners where can they find BBQ Beat and you? Where can they find you?
Well, as I mentioned, you can always find the podcast over at BBQ BEAT, barbecuebeat.com. I do have a fairly active Instagram channel where I go out and I share I share if I have a guest on the show, then I'll repeatedly go back and help promote the things they're sharing, the stories they're sharing through images there. And there's also a Facebook community for the podcast where we just have really civil, lovely, helpful conversations about cooking and ideas that people have about, enjoying time with their families and so on and so forth. So they can reach that by just clicking on the community link on top of the website.
Yes, that's great. Well, thank you. And I'm sure we'll have you back again as a guest. I love those stories, great stories. So thank you so much for being here. Much success with the podcast.
Thank you, Maria.
Thanks for listening to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. This is Maria Liberati. Special thanks to my producer, Britton Roselle, my production intern, Alexandra Troy, Peter Gordon, and Amrit Panal, and this week's guest, Rob Becerra of Ruthless, Pawz, and Kevin Sandridge from the BBQ Beat Podcast. And if you have any recipes for mint that you'd like to share, please share them on social media, hashtag them the Maria Liberati Show. If you create my strawberries with lemon recipe, take a picture, share it, hashtag it the Maria Liberati Show. Share our episodes from this month of June. You're going to be entered into a giveaway for, the Lou Malnati's Chicago pizza. It's a delicious pizza, and the limited edition grilling kit from Vital Choice, filled with seafood and rubs for the seafood and grilling planks. Again, that's from Vital Choice. And also we're giving away a copy of my book, The Basic Art of Pizza. That's this month's giveaway. So be sure to like and share the episodes. We will be choosing a winner shortly. And you can find all of my books in the Gourmand World Award-winning series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, at marialiberati.com, at artoflivingprimamedia.com, and anywhere books are sold online and at bricks and mortar stores. You can also find the Basic Art of series, and as mentioned, we're giving away one of the books in the Basic Art of series. In the Basic Art of Pizza is the one we're giving away this month. And you can also find me on Twitter at Maria Liberati with a capital M, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, on Zeno Media at The Basic Art of Radio Station, and my blog, which is at marialiberati.com, and my Roku channel, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking by Maria Liberati. And once again, thanks for listening. Until next week, peace, love, and pasta.